Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. We have got plenty of fantastic questions for you today. We're going to get to them in just a moment. But before we do, first, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment using the word Kendo so that we can grow the Kendo population by 372,461 quadrillion people in the next 25 seconds. Okay, do that. Make sure you use the word Kendo in the comments so that we don't get people starting trampolining or something like that. Nothing wrong with trampolining, but it's not as good as Kendo. Okay. More importantly, if you like the show, if you like the channel, don't forget to shop at KendoStar.com. Okay, we bring you these fantastic videos, whether it's these Q&A videos like we're talking about, what we're doing right now, feedback videos, put one out yesterday, instructional content, analytical videos. I even have a fantastic interview, exclusive, brilliant interview coming to you next week. It's already available to watch it in the early access group. There's a link in the description. It is with the 2024 All Japan 7th Dan Women's Champion, Yuki Ogata Sensei. Amazing, fantastic, one of my favorite Kendo teachers in the universe. And I'm not even exaggerating. Okay. It's a great interview. Really, really good. There's some absolute gems in there. Gems. All right. So go and watch it in the early access group if you want to see it now. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till Monday when it'll appear on this channel. If you're watching this in the future, well, it's probably already out there. Now, you can see already up here, I've got these lovely pictures of these Shinai bags. That's because I'm about to plug the Horsen series Shinai bags that are part of our imported series at KendoStar. Look, I know some of you might not like me plugging products on here, but it's my channel, so thumbs down if you don't like it. But listen, these Shinai bags are super nice, right? This is the Urashimori Sakura design in red. This is what my wife has. This is what Miyuki has. It's got her name on it. Yeah, super high quality, beautiful Shinai bags. This is my new one. I absolutely love this. This is the Shoba design. I chose this on purpose. Get the Horsen branding on there as well. This is real leather from Nara Prefecture, by the way. It's not fake stuff, it's real stuff. And I'm telling you now, the quality of the craftsmanship on these is really second to none. It's really fantastic. All comes with name embroidery as standard. All right, I chose this pattern on purpose. Remind me where I came from. My very first Shinai bag was of this pattern, as I think a lot of us are when we're beginners. But this is like a very high quality version in the same pattern, which I think is very nice. Then my daughter Nagomi, she's got this great one as well. This is the one that you can see in the pictures here. These are great. These are the custom embroidered ones. Yeah, you get your name embroidered on the back here, but also you choose the fabric. There's all sorts of different color fabric you can choose from, and then you can choose the lettering that's embroidered on it here. All right, so there's a load of different phrases and stuff you can choose from. I really like this one on the right hand side. I nearly got this one instead of the Shoba one, actually, because I think that's super cool as well. It says Shoshin, beginner's mind. Really like that. Nagomi chose this one. This is her name on it, in this beautiful purple color. You can choose it all. It's all made to order. You can customize it. Fantastic, amazing quality Shinai bags there. They're absolutely fantastic, and available now through the KendoStar platform. So you get the fantastic KendoStar service. You of course get your loyalty points, and of course you get the standard stuff, free shipping over the threshold. Import tax is paid for you from most places, and it supports the channel as well. So shop at KendoStar.com. All right, you're going to shop with us anyway, so don't buy twice, buy right first time round. Check out the Bogu that we've got. It's awesome. KendoStar Vanguard Bogu is, I think, probably the most popular Bogu in the world at this point. I know I'm exaggerating. I know I'm prone to exaggeration, but I think that's probably true, actually, because the Vanguard Bogu set, it really flies off the shelves because it's such a great set for all levels as well. I'd wear it myself. If I've got a set myself, my wife has a set of it. It's great for practice, and it's great as a beginner set too. So, with that being said, let's get into these questions. First one. Okay. Good evening, Fish Sensei. I have a question for the rant related to procedural elements of tournaments and gradings, if that's okay. There's a lot of information about what to do with Shushin and Fukushin, sure. But what are the procedures and responsibilities when serving as Shunin or Shinbancho? In a similar vein, how exactly does one carry out the role of sitting on a grading panel? I'm not asking how to decide whether to pass a candidate for a specific grade, but rather about the practical and procedural elements. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, so I'm just conscious that my mic is moving around as I'm talking and getting animated. I might just move it to my t-shirt. Should be okay. Hopefully it won't fall off. Okay, so what you're talking about here is the Shinban Shinin, right? Shinban Shinin. Shinban Shinin or Shinbancho. Okay, so Shinban Shinin is like, especially at a bigger tournament, you'll tend to have, obviously you have the Shinban In, okay, the Shinban In, that's the Shushin and the Fukushin, the two Fukushin, that's the team of 3 referees who will referee or adjudicate the, the shiai. And then you've also got the Shinban Shunin, and that is the person, like the referee who oversees that court or that shiaijo. And then you have the Shinban Cho, who's the chief referee, the head referee of the whole tournament, and they'll usually sit. The Shinban Shunin will usually sit on a table, like right in front of the court that they're in charge of. And then the Shinban Cho will then sit usually on the top table. Yeah. So in terms of the procedures and responsibilities, I've never really done either of these roles, not in a meaningful way, in a certainly not a larger tournament. So I can't speak to it too much from experience. I've only done it at sort of smaller ones, especially the Shinban Shunin. I don't think I've ever done Shinban Cho. Shinban Cho is basically there as the sort of final adjudicator for disputes relating to the application of the regulations, all right? Now, what that means is if something strange happens that's maybe a little bit outside the scope of the regulations, or if there's if there's an unsurety about how the regulations are being applied, and it can't simply be addressed by the court Shunin, then the Shinbancho gets to make a decision on that. Now, that doesn't regard things that are the authority of the Shinban In, that's the Shushin and the Fukushin. So, for example, the awarding of Yuko Datotsu. All right. There's a I-men, let's call it I-men. 2 people hit men at the same time. The Shinban award it to red, but the white team's manager is insistent that that was the white side's men. First off, they don't have that's not the right time for them to file Icchi, which is a kind of questioning of the protest of the decision. But if they do put the little flag up, oh, I thought that was the white point, you can't give it the red point, they didn't have enough zanshin or whatever, that's just gonna get thrown straight out. Okay, like the Shinban Shunin at that point should just be like, that's not for you to question, that's their decision, sit back down. All right, now if there's some kind of confusion about the application of the rules, and we're not saying here like, okay, right, you're supposed to separate after about 3 seconds or 1 breath, all right? And it was less than that in one of the people's opinion, but the Shinban awarded the Hansoku. That as well isn't something that is kind of, it's not something that you're able to protest about. You protest about that and say, oh, they gave my player a Hansoku because they would they said that it was longer than 3 seconds and it wasn't. Like, that, they're just going to say, well, that's not for you to decide as well. All right, it's not that. But let's say the white player drops the shinai, okay? And then the Shinban get confused and they award the Hansoku for dropping the shinai to the red player. At that point, the red player's manager can put the flag up and file the Icchi, all right? I know this is a bit off topic from what you're asking, right? Their protest, right? And say, listen, it was the white side that dropped the shinai, but my player's been given the Hansoku. This is an incorrect application of the regulations, All right, the situation is going to be investigated. If that turns out to be exactly the case, then it's going to be reversed. All right. For example, so yeah, that's an example. Now let's say you have a complicated situation. Let's say something happens and let's say something happens and the score is recorded incorrectly, or even better, let's say I'm thinking of an example that I know of, a real example that happened, but let's say, for example, the timekeeper made the mistake and they blew the whistle 30 seconds too early, all right, and nobody noticed, and it means that the 4-minute shiai actually was 3.5 minutes, okay, and then the Shimpan finished the shiai, everybody leaves, next shiai starts, blah, blah, blah. Then they notice that they only had 3.5 minutes. And then they take that to the Shimpan Shunin of that court and say, hey, this shiai was too short, didn't have the full time, regulation time. I think at that point, the Shimpan Shunin is going to take that issue to the Shimpancho. I think, rather than call on that themselves. I think that sort of issue is going to have to go to the Shimpancho. I don't know for sure, because I'm not, but probably that's what would happen. And then the Shimpancho would make a decision on how to deal with that situation. All right, so that's where the Shimpancho fits in, right? And there's other stuff, that's the main sort of thing. And then if anything strange comes up, or the Shimpan Shunin has some kind of query or question, they're going to take that to the Shimpancho, who's going to make the final decision. The Shimpan Shunin is going to oversee the court. Generally, they'll keep the score as well, but they don't. That's not part of their role. There's usually someone else keeping the score, but generally they'll mark down the score and they'll watch what's happening, and then they'll sometimes give the feedback to the Shimpan after they've finished. The other thing is, like, sometimes they'll probably deal with lower level stuff as well. Like if the Shimpan, maybe there's some kind of gorgi and they need to clarify something, they might check that with the Shimpan Shunin, okay? And then if that Shimpan Shunin doesn't know, he'll check that with the Shimpancho, okay? And then basically, that's mainly what they do, okay? That's mainly their sort of procedures and responsibilities, okay? What's very clear and what's very important is the Shimpancho and the Shimpan Shunin do not have the authority to overrule the decisions on Yuko Datotsu. Okay? So, the decision on Yuko Datotsu is entirely up to the Shimpan-in. Okay? That's the Shushin and the Hukushin. Okay? It's the Shimpan Shunin or the Shimpancho cannot interfere with the shiai in that way, okay? They can only interfere, or it's not really interfere, but they can only ensure that the regulations have been properly applied, okay? Now, in terms of a grading panel, this really depends. But generally, it depends. In different. I've done grading panels in different countries, but generally there's some kind of paper that has the candidate's number on, and then you write on it whether they pass or fail. In terms of like procedure, like obviously it's for the most part, the grading panel should wear a suit. Mostly, okay, most of the time, all right. Now, in lots of places outside of Japan, they often wear the Shimpan clothes. But actually, in Japan, you're not supposed to wear the Shimpan clothes. They tell you to wear a suit and not the Shimpan fuku. But in any case, you're supposed to wear the suit, and you sit, watch quietly. You don't talk to the other panelists. You don't confer with the other panelists, and you give your judgment on the grade on the paper, and it's just your, you know, that's it really. There's nothing particularly you know, complicated about it, to be honest. You sit in the chair, watch the grading, and then write on the panel on the paper if they pass or fail. Some of them, like here in the UK, we have feedback sheets as well, so the panelists can write like any feedback they might want to write on there. In fact, the All Japan Kendo Federation do that too. Like for I don't know, like the local exams up to 5th dan could be different, but for the 6th dan, 7th dan, 8th dan, you can get feedback on that as well, but it's not detailed. It's like you get an A, B, C or D, with A being you nearly passed basically, and D being like start again. So it doesn't say start again. But yeah, there we go. Okay, next one. This one says, Sensei, I can't seem to figure out the timing for when to ask the question on feedback or on the early access page, so I'm going this route. Hope you don't mind it, and forgive me for the PM. Okay, so it's a direct message, no problem. I recently had to write an essay for a Kodansha seminar on kentaichi. I know what it is, but I find it challenging to find a lot of info on the internet about it, and on English sources anyway. Yeah. If you haven't already done this in another video, could you give your take on it? Congrats again on 7th dan, thank you. I remember the old days of Kendo World forums when you passed 4th dan, and that was a very big deal. Oh, Kendo World forums, those were fun days. Oh dear, those were fun days. To be clear, this kentaichi and not this kentaichi. I know you know what kentaichi is. Just want to be clear that I'm not confusing the terms. Thanks very much. Okay, so the thing is there's two ways you could read kentaichi. All right. So at first, when I read your message, I thought you were referring to this, but then you cleared it up. You meant this. This is a much deeper concept than this one. Kentaichi is the same as kentai no ichi, or kentaichi, but without the ki. So it means sword and body as one. Okay. Now here's the interesting thing, right? So I'll be honest with you. This isn't a term I've heard a lot. I haven't heard it a lot, but I like it. I like it, and I'm glad you asked the question, because it made me look it up and look into it, I should say. Now, I drew my own conclusions or my own interpretation of what I felt it was about, just by looking at the kanji, which you can do, and it's quite interesting to do that. So it's a really interesting concept. So, right, let's look at the kanji, right? Ichi means together, and it's the same as the kentaichi, okay? It's not ichi, by the way, it's ichi, okay? So if you were to write it properly in Romaji, it's more like ichi, yeah? Or ichi, yeah? It's not ichi. Whoops, it's not ichi, okay? It's ichi. Okay, there's a little pause between the I and the chi. Yeah, it's an ichi, right? Because it's two kanji. This is ichi, means one, right? As we know, ichi, ni, san, yeah? And then this means together as one. That's why it's ichi, okay? Ichi. It's a normal word, it's not a kendo word, it's used in general Japanese. This one, though, so it's like, this ken is from, like, it's often used in Japanese with the phrase issho kenmei, okay? Issho kenmei, which means to try as hard as you can, okay? It's not the same issho kenmei that we use as our logo in KendoStar. We use the same word issho kenmei, but the ken is a different ken. It's the ken from Kendo. It's this one. Right. So, like, on its own, this means to hang, like a state of suspension sort of thing is what the dictionary says, but it means, like, in this way, it kind of means offense, like attacking, all right? It kind of means attacking, all right? And this is matsu. It means to wait. Okay, to wait is what it actually means, right? On its own. But in this context, it kind of means attack and defense as one. Okay? Attack and defense as one. Now, on a basic level, I think that kind of, you can consider that being like the ability, like the best, often they say like the best attack, the best defense is a good offense, all right? And it kind of is that. But for me, it's like, for me, this is the essence of tame, okay? What we have this term tame, okay? And it's that feeling of what I like to call aggressive patience, okay? Aggressive patience. So it's when you're in your kamae, you're in the good posture, good kamae, good shisei, but good readiness, state of preparedness, ready to launch, assailing your opponent with your seme, but holding the horses back. Yeah, it's that feeling in a way of, you know, when you have those spaghetti western movies where they're about to do the shoot off, you know, and they've got their hands over their gun ready to draw like this. Yeah, just like that. I've seen Back to the Future. That sort of feeling of tension, that sort of feeling of it, like when the sumo wrestlers, if you ever seen the sumo, they throw the salt and then they come to the line and they crouch down and they'll put one hand down, but they've got to put the second one down before they go, right? And it's that, and they'll sometimes they'll put the first one down and then they'll go to put the second one, and then they'll leave it, sort of move back, and they'll throw more salt. And the other one's like, it's a kind of mental battle going on there, right? It's kind of that feeling. But where it comes into sort of a kendo context is a little bit different, because it also, like where the cowboys don't have that ability to defend themselves, they only have the ability to shoot the guns. The sumo wrestlers, for example, they do, right? They could smash into each other, or they could receive and you know, let the other person go past them or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a sumo expert, all right? I only used to watch it when it was on the TV. But it's that feeling, right, of concentrated aggression, and not aggression in a violent way, but proactive patience, yeah, whilst being ready for whatever they're going to do. So here, you're not rushing in and just attacking wildly, but at the same time, you're not falling into defense all the time either. You've got that perfect balance between the attacking mindset and the readiness to defend at the same time. And that is the... And when I say defend, it doesn't even necessarily mean this kind of defense. It means, because it's more matsu. I think it doesn't mean waiting, even though that's the kanji for waiting. It means patience. Okay, it means patience on the edge of a knife, ready to what's going on here. Okay, and then see how they're gonna react. No, not moving back. Okay, let's see a bit more. Still can't find out what's going on here, but I'm ready for... Oh, there it is! Bam! Yeah? Or... What's going on here? What are they doing? What are they going for? What are they going for? Oh, they're not doing anything. Bam! Yeah? This kind of feeling, all right? It's a bit difficult to put into words, to be honest. I hope you... I'd love to read your essay on it, to be honest. Because I think it's a great topic, and it's perfectly appropriate for a Kodansha seminar, because once you get past fourth dan, this is the sort of thing you need to start trying to understand. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't start to understand this stuff until I was into sixth dan, all right? But once you're past third dan, once you're fourth dan, you're on the road then you're on the road then to 7th dan, right? And then 7th dan's not the goal. Once you get to 7th dan, then you're in the end game. Then you're in like the real, then you're in like the real journey to it's not the end, but that gap to Hachidan is obviously vast compared to what all the rest have been. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a great piece of it's not terminology, but it's a great phrase. I love it. I like it a lot. And it's not one that I'd thought about a lot. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention and asking about it. Okay, next. Sensei, something I've struggled with for a long time is my tenouchi. I feel it's a very weak part of my kendo, and my senseis regularly comment I'm still hitting too hard. I'm really working to improve, and it's something I'm very self-conscious about. Is any kendo that causes an opponent pain is absolutely wrong? Sure. Absolutely. Two-part question. One, what exercise besides tapping the arm of a chair and I've been doing this for one or 3 years, can help build better tenouchi? Two, another sensei commented that I have difficulty with harai waza because of weak tenouchi. How can I use tenouchi to better create openings for shikake waza? Thank you for all you do for the community. Okay, so suburi, you need to do more suburi. Okay, and there's a few things you can do. You can do like a suburi where you turn your wrist this way, like this. Men, and try to keep your hands closed. Don't open your hands. Try to keep your hands closed as much as you can. If you have to open your hands, you have to. That's fine. But twisting this way, so you're getting wrist flexibility. Okay, so what you want is wrist flexibility. This ability to do this sort of thing. Yeah, bam. That's your tenouchi here. This, all right? Bam, 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 bam. That, okay? Like you knock on a door. You don't go like that, right? Like that, yeah? That's the thing you need to build, all right? The other thing you can do is, with your shinai, you can do your normal suburi. Think about making sure that you're using your wrists in that suburi, like this, yeah? But also, you can do the small suburi, kotemen, without moving your feet. Try to do it fast. Okay? Anything like that loosens up your wrists, all right? And in terms of, and another thing you can do, another thing that's really good, I think, is if you can do with a partner, right, is if one of you stands in chudan and the other stands opposite, and then do this with your shinai. Okay, like around in a loop around their shinai, all right? And try to keep your left hand in the same place without going with your left hand up and down. Left hand in the same place like this, all right? So you're using your wrists in this way to turn the shinai around, all right? And then you'll be able to do things like harai waza to create openings for shikake waza, and that answers both the questions at once, okay? Next. Hey Sensei, I hope all is well. A couple of questions this week. One, how do you know if you have terrible ashisabaki? I'm Nidan and I've never been told I have any issues, and I actually think my footwork is pretty good, but after last week's question about what advice you'd give your lower ranked self, I'm wondering if mine's up to snuff. Two, I was wondering your thoughts on performing certain ojiwaza and escaping backwards, specifically on waza like suriage. Here is Andy's Japanese lessons. It's suriage. It is kaeshi, kote kaeshi men. Can you retreat away from your opponent after the waza, or do you have to move forward? The extra room made from retreating seems helpful in the execution of the technique, but I wasn't sure if that was proper technique or not. Thanks so much. Okay, great question. So, how do you know if you have terrible ashisabaki? Everybody has terrible ashisabaki, okay? So, just assume that you do and just keep working on it, all right? Just keep working on it. All right, just assume that you do and keep working on it. Because I know Hachidan senseis that think they have terrible ashisabaki. Okay, so just assume that it needs work. Okay, just assume that it needs work. All right. I'm not saying it does or doesn't. All right, but mine certainly does. Okay. And if you just assume that it does, you can't go wrong. Okay, and in terms of going backwards after ojowaza, so if you do suriage pam pam, or if you do kote kajimen pam pam this way, yes, of course you can. After hitting, you can go backwards like you would with a hikiwaza. All right, so just do the same as you would with hikimen, pam pam this way, or pam pam this way. Yeah, and back in Jordan, back to Tunon when you're finished. Okay, just like you would with a hikiwaza. Okay, it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and it's quite useful to do it that way as well. Okay, hi Sensei, hope you are well and family are all good. Yes, my question is, if you had 15 minutes in the morning for some home suburi, what would you do? Also thinking it would help my stiff shoulders and correcting my bad posture, footwork, etc., as well as keiko on the night and weekend. Thank you and hopefully see you soon. Currently training for Yondan. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, this is an interesting question. So the interview that I've got going up on the website, on this channel next week with Yukio Gata Sensei, I've spoken to her about this, and she does 500 suburi every morning at like 6 a.m. And it takes her 12 minutes. Okay, so you could do 500 suburi. Okay, you can do 500 suburi. What I would do if I was you is joge suburi, naname suburi, zenshin kotai suburi, that's men forward and back, zenshin sayumen suburi, so forward and back with left and right, and then you could do haya suburi, or you could do like fumikomi suburi if you're feeling really, you know. Or as I said before, the one where you turn your wrists this way. This is quite good actually to help you loosen up. All right, you do 100 of each of those, yeah, that's 500, right? And I bet you could do that in 15 minutes, right? Or if not, just do 50 of them, 50 each. Yeah, it's hard work. I do it as well sometimes, but not every day. I should do. I'll try and start. Okay, my kids do. My daughters do. My oldest daughter, she's in Japan now with Yuki Sensei, and she's doing a lot more than that. But my younger one, Nagomi, she's getting up in the morning before school, and she's doing that too. So I'm sure you can manage if you want to. Hi Sensei, I was wondering about the sound of fumikomi. Which part of the foot should be used to produce the sound? Is it a slap sound or a thudding sound? Also, is the fumikomi different for men and kote kut? Thank you very much. It's not different for a men or kote kut. It's not different. At the same time, I don't want you to concentrate too much on the sound the fumikomi makes. I think people often concentrate on that too much. That's how they end up hurting their feet when they're doing it, hurting their heels and stuff like that. My understanding is the fumikomi should be pretty much at the same time. If anything, a little bit like that, but pretty much this way, I guess is the idea. Definitely not front first, all right? But I don't want you to think too much about the sound it makes. Think more about the left leg than the right foot, okay? Push from the left leg, push the hips forward. Think about that a lot more than the sound it makes. Even if the sound's quiet, it will come with time, all right? That is my advice. Okay, wow, that's a long one. We're near the end. Hi Sensei, I'd like to learn more about Aiki. At a recent seminar, we were encouraged to establish Aiki with our opponents before cutting. It reminded me of your recent Kendo feedback video where you pointed out a player relaxing in suburi. Similarly, at the seminar, we were told to maintain Aiki not just during suburi, but before the hikiwaza and throughout the entire match. Sensei, what is Aiki? I understand the basics, maintaining eye contact and connection between opponents, but I feel it goes deeper than that. Up until now, I've relied on shouting an intense ki at my opponent, but I've come to realise that that's one-sided. As my teacher often says, I've been fighting alone rather than with my opponent. Since the seminar, I've been focusing on connecting with my opponent, and it's made a real difference. They seem slower, I can read their movements better, and I've even managed to land some debana waza, something I couldn't do before. Oh, and I just remembered another point from the seminar. Sensei spoke about matching spirits. Does that mean matching intensity, or is it something else, more about connection? Matching the spirit seems like a difficult concept to grasp. I really appreciate your insights. Thank you in advance. So, this matching the spirits comment literally is about Aiki. Okay, Aiki I'm sure everyone's heard of the martial art or the Budo Aikido, right? It's the same Aiki from that, okay? So Aiki, it's not that, it's that, okay? And Kiai are the same kanji, just reversed, okay? Now, the thing is, Kiai doesn't actually mean shouting, okay? Yeah, that's not actually Kiai. Kiai is like building up your own spirit, okay? Bringing your spirit up, yeah? That's why we often use it to describe the act of hase, which is shouting, okay? But Aiki is a bit different, because what that is about the ki, the spirit between you and your opponent, okay? So it does mean about having that connection, working together whilst at the same time competing, okay? And that's a key element of Kendo. That's one of the things that separates Kendo from just mindless violence, all right? That's why Kendo is not just a competition of who can hit the Bogu the fastest. And that's why it's difficult often for people new to Kendo with no Kendo experience to understand higher level Kendo shiai. So it does go deeper than just eye contact, all right? It's about synchronizing, all right? It's about synchronizing, but at the same time, there's, I don't know if it's similar or not, right? But when I was younger, I was very much into martial arts films. And there was a martial arts film, and it was about a Brazilian martial art called capoeira. And I don't know much about it, but it looked kind of cool. They were doing like somersaults and stuff. And then there was a character that did that in Tekken, and I thought he was super cool. And this isn't just random information. My very limited experience of seeing those people doing that martial art, I think it's from Brazil, is that they have to, it's fighting disguised as or hidden in or combined with dancing, from what I understand, right? That means that there has to be some concept of rhythm, and there has to be some concept of the two sides working in harmony, right? For it to become an actual, I don't know what they call it, right? But an actual match or whatever, right? For two people to engage in that activity, that capoeira, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but for those two people to engage in a back and forth where their movements both synchronize but also result in a competitive, like a competitive outcome. I believe that's. I don't know. Maybe there's no competitive element to it at all. I don't know. I don't know anything about that martial art. I'm not going to pretend I do, but I'm just saying I saw it in a movie and they were fighting with it and I thought it was cool. When I was like 14. Anyway, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, in a way, it's a bit like a dance-off or a rap battle as well, in that you're both, you work into the same rhythm, you're working together, but you're working against each other at the same time. Yeah. It's a bit like that. Yeah. In that there's that connection, there's that harmony between the two of you, whilst you work together in the effort to compete to create a beautiful waza. All right, that's Aiki. All right, and it's a really key concept. It's a really key concept, and that's why sometimes like when you can't synchronize with each other, it might feel very weird, especially sometimes even just from one side. And there are people that haven't grasped this concept yet or don't understand it yet, and that's fine, because we all, it's a somewhat higher concept of Kendo, to be fair. But this is why You know, this is why people get to like third dan, and might even get to fourth dan, where they're might be starting to scratch the surface of this. But if they're young and they're fast, like they can sometimes hit points by disregarding Aiki, right? Because you become what they would say in Japanese as yarinikui, difficult to, it's kind of random. And that's why I often describe there's that Dunning-Kruger effect of people at that level who seem to think that they're super good. And I was heavily in that, you know, and I found some videos of myself, my old shiais recently from 20 years ago. And I was definitely in that camp. I had no concept of Aiki whatsoever or anything like that. I was just trying to hit as fast as I could. So yeah, it's a difficult concept, but that's kind of how it works. All right, it's a working together whilst also against each other. Hello, Fish Sensei. My question is simple. Are there any chances you'll produce more instructional videos, especially those Shiai orientated? I hope so, as they're extremely useful. Best wishes, many thanks. Yes, I will produce more instructional videos. I promise. It's difficult for me to film them because I need a dojo that I can use. I need people to help me, all right? And at the moment, it's fitting that in with everything else. It's a lot of work and it's not so easy to organize for me in my current situation, but I definitely will be bringing more instructional videos to you very soon, okay? I definitely will. If you've got an idea of what you'd like it to be about, you write it in the comments for me, okay? Okay, last one. Hello, Sensei. I hope your family are well. Yes, we are very well. I have two questions for you. First, what are your thoughts on using a Bogu set versus mix and match parts? The only full Bogu set I've ever owned is the first one I bought as a beginner 20 years ago. Since then, I've just bought replacement pieces as needed, including several KendoStar pieces. Thank you very much. Do you mix and match your favorite KendoStar equipment or generally go with all one particular set? And do you think the answer is different as a Bogu professional? And for context, my second question, I'm in my early 40s and I'm 5th dan. Okay. I'm recently been thinking a lot about how to mature my kendo as I age. I exercise a lot and I'm fairly fit with no real injuries to speak of. So I'm not necessarily talking about any physical limitations, more about what a kendo should look like as we advance in both age and rank. Is that something you consciously consider or something you let physical ability dictate? I hope that makes sense, and I'm just curious about your thoughts on the topic. Thank you. Okay, so two great questions. Here's my rule of thumb, right? And this is in terms of the Bogu question, right? And this is whether you are a, you know, this is from the point of view of a Bogu professional, but also as a kendo guy as well. And I know that this is a commonly shared opinion amongst kendoka who I respect. All right. In terms of the Bogu, my general rule of thumb is that at the very least, the men and the tare should match. Okay, the men and the tare should match. Okay, to get the best, not the best, but to get a better overall, you know, appearance. Different kote is not so big deal, all right? Having, you know, obviously if it's all one matching set, it looks great, okay? And when I presented my grading, it was all a matching set, okay? But the door is pretty interchangeable, right? The door is pretty interchangeable, all right? Now, if I had a door that had, let's say, very bright, let's say Tetsukon blue kazari-ito, and the rest of the kazari-ito on my Bogu was black, I probably wouldn't wear those together. All right? Personally, it's not the end of the world, right? But for the most part, I'll chop and change doors all the time. All right? And then kote as well. I'm in and out of kote all the time. I've got different ones. Depends on what I'm practicing with, who I'm likely to practice with, what kind of practice it's likely to be. All right? And then I'll choose the men and the tare, and I will always match the men and the tare. Okay, I'll always match the men in the tare because I think that looks better. Okay, but it's you know, if they're similar, it's not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? It's not the end of the world. It's not super, you know. And it depends. If it's just for keiko, if it's just for your everyday keiko, it doesn't matter at all. Mix it up how you want. I don't think anyone cares about that. But if you're talking about like presenting for exams or entering shiai or wanting to look your best, then I would say the very least you should match your men and your kote, your men and your tare, okay? And then use the kote you feel the best. In terms of the type of kendo you should be doing in your early 40s as 5th dan. So I'm 41, I'm 42 this year, okay? And of course, having recently passed my latest grading of 7th dan, it's made me reevaluate what kind of kendo do I want to do, all right? Now, where I'm at is, I'm not young, right? But I'm not old, all right? Not, you know, I feel it sometimes, but I'm not, in a kendo sense, I'm still in the middle somewhere, all right? I'm still physically capable, all right? I could be more physically capable if I put my mind to it. So where I draw inspiration for the type of kendo I want to do is of people my age in Japan, okay, and especially the top level players. So yeah, most of those guys are 7th dan, but I don't think it matters if you're 5th dan, 6th dan or 7th dan. I think you can draw a lot of inspiration from that, and I think that's a good way to look at it. I would look at people similar age to you playing at the top level in Japan. So these are the people that are currently competing in like the All Japan 7th dan championships. It's nothing to do with dan grade. Dan grade's irrelevant, all right? It's nothing to do with that. All right, but they're the people that are around our age, and that's the kind of kendo that they're doing. So that's the sort of thing you want to aim for. All right, that's especially your 5th dan. Right, if you're telling me you were like shodan nidan, then I'd be like, yeah, let's focus on kihon a bit more. But like your 5th dan, so you know you're looking towards 6th dan, 7th dan anyway, right? So yeah, see what you can look at in stuff like the 7th dan championships. Look at even the Tozai Taiko is a good one as well. Like probably the first 10 matches of the Tozai Taiko are all people, they're probably all under 50. I reckon it starts at around early 30s and it goes up to like probably first 10, 15 matches of the Tozai Taiko. That's the East-West tournament. That sort of thing. And then if you can find anything even better, and there's a lot on YouTube these days, but if you can find anything even better that is like, what can I say? Like of those level players doing practice, not just the shiai. That's super cool as well, but maybe not. It's hard to find that. But that's what I would say. That's my advice: is look for people your age. Don't worry about the grade so much, but look for people your age in Japan that are performing at a top level, and that's a great type of kendo to aim for. All right. So to some extent, it's dictated by my physical ability. I don't want to be, okay, I'm 7th dan now, so I have to stand there and do nothing. I don't think I have to do that at 41 years old. All right, that's not what my counterparts. I can't call them counterparts. They're not counterparts, are they? But that's not what the people my age in Japan are doing. All right, not the ones that are the people who I look up to and take inspiration from. All right, so that's what I do. All right, and that's what I'd recommend as well. And there we go. We're at the end. Thank you very much for joining me today. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.